Hey, 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 welcome back to the Scorpio channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Scorpio. Know that energy is fluid, roles could be reversed. Interpret the message as it best resonates. Now, you'll also see that this message is also going to be for my winner, but it's not uncommon for other people to resonate with the message. So, if you're new to my channel, know that I like to dive deep within the readings. So, I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, see how they play it as karmic themes. This will allow you to understand why everything's playing out the way that it is. Hey, smooth flight, self love, and Desiree. How are you doing this morning? I hope everyone's having a good morning. If you guys are new to the channel, know that I like to look at the shadows. I do look at everything, as I just said, but a lot of times it's not about whether our person has feelings for us. We know that they have feelings for us. We don't know why it looks the way that it does, or what is the whole spiritual significance, or what if we don't want to be attached to that person anymore because they keep sabotaging the connection or keep getting in their own way, and the connection just winds up bringing more negative energy than positive. Well, there's many different realities that play out at one time. Your level of consciousness depends on your core beliefs, and your core beliefs are what determine your actions, and your actions are what make up your karma. So you can shape shift a situation a lot of times. All you need to do is understand what the spiritual significance of the connection is. Why are you attracting that person? Especially if you're like, I'm not an asshole. The person that acts like an asshole. Again, people that have spiritual blocks, they tend to, not come from the best character. So understanding allows us to give the energy back. Oh, good. I'm so glad that you did. Feel free to ask questions while I'm on live. If I can't answer them while I'm doing the live, I'll definitely answer them for you after. I only have an hour and 15 minutes today because I have to do a private reading. However, I will be on later as well. All right. So let me jump in before waste any more time, because the readings are always long because I have a therapy style to them. Okay, let's see. The word of the video is criticism. But I always like to go just a little bit deeper. And you don't have to write both words. You could just write the criticism. And that is shadow dislocation. So I feel like you're dealing with a person that has a lot of spiritual blocks. And they avoid people to just avoid any type of criticism, but they don't have a problem criticizing you. I feel like you're dealing with a person that projects a lot of their trauma onto you and everybody else. It's never their fault. Shadow dislocation is almost like a detachment, knowing that they've gone through trauma, but not really aware of how it comes out in their behaviorisms, not seeing how it keeps sabotaging their life. I feel like you're dealing with a person that keeps on going through karmic cycles. And these karmic cycles are karmic loops. It's the same exact experience, just with different faces. And so, they don't really believe that they can be in a normal connection. So, especially if they're not willing to listen, right? If a person is like, everything that they hear is like, you're criticizing me, instead of, usually the universe will bring a soulmate into a person's life that is, I don't want to say broken, but somebody that has a lot of shadows, a lot of spiritual blocks, because they've gone through a lot of trauma, to help that person, to create awareness for that person, because there is unconditional love there. But the problem is that when there's so much baggage, that a person hasn't looked at, it's like the first thing that the person does is they react. And so when they react, that's when their behaviorisms come out that are more sabotaging. Hey, I love you too. All right, let's see what's going on. Okay, so again, the person's lazy. They don't really want to put in any effort. So that's what it was like when you were dealing with them. And I think that a person that has a lot of trauma, there's so much thought, there's so much emotion, because there is feeling. It's not like there's not. You wouldn't be able to push a person into their shadow dislocation unless, the feelings were deep. Problem is that when people have gone through trauma, they just, that feeling of love, instead of them wanting to open up and give more, they actually do the opposite. It's a psychological reversal. They just get in their own way. And so when the person doesn't know what to do, what do? They do nothing. And it seems like they're lazy. And that's triggering, because you're like, wait, you don't think that you have to do anything? Like, why don't you have to like put in a little bit of effort? And part of that in the beginning was because it was a strong connection. You showed this person that they didn't really need to have to, because you liked them. You weren't looking for anything. Obviously, this person's not very evolved. And they know that. So again, they have addictions as well. So it's not uncommon when a person has a lot of trauma that they would have addictions, because you can't walk around feeling bad about yourself. You can't walk around thinking that relationships are bad or that you can't have them, and you're constantly holding on to a cognitive dissonance, like, I have feelings but I can't let you in. I have, this back and forth. It makes this person not feel good. So remember, too much thought, too much emotion creates overstimulation, which makes this person appear lazy because they don't know what to do. And since they don't know what to do, they can't just sit in the emotion because they don't know what to do with the emotion. What they do is they fall prey to addiction. It's a form of escapism. It's just, I don't know what to do, and I'm tired of being in this fight, flight, freeze response for so long of not knowing what to do. But the addiction also shows us that this is, like I said, the way that this person deals with shit. And that's, well, it's again, that's not. And if you're getting this reading and you're like, this is more of a past person, will understand being with them made an imprint on you. It created trauma within inside of you, where you're like, in order for you to move forward, you really need to integrate the spiritual lesson, because the imprint is, I know what that feels like. I went through the experience. I embodied the experience. And how do you manifest? Through the thoughts that you think and the emotions that you have. So we all go in and out of consciousness, but when you get into the next relationship unconsciously, we then go into survival mode a little bit, trying to look for things that have already happened. We don't do this consciously. We do this subconsciously. So it's because you didn't learn the spiritual lesson. So it's like, why did I go through that? Like, did it affect me? Like, how did it affect me? Because really, these readings are really more about how they affect you than whether the person's coming back or not. However, I do answer whether the person's coming back, because we always want to know that. The ego wants to know. But the shadow part of self needs to still be integrated, especially if you're like, well, I want to pull a person to me. That's going to be, that's why. See, because you're still holding on to that experience, because there was love there. However, there was a lot of problems there. So that's the cognitive dissonance, which is, I love this person, but they triggered the shit out of me. And they triggered the shit out of me because it's like they didn't really know how to love me. And that had nothing to do with you. However, it's how it made you feel, because nothing should be able to make you feel any way about yourself. It's again, like, that's out of alignment with your true self, right? So if you're really unconditional love and you're doing what you love and you're connected to people that you love, and someone comes into your life and says, hey, smooth flight, self-love, you're dumb. You'd be like, you know what? You're dumb. Who the hell are you to call me dumb? It's like, you have problems. And maybe you would know that, and you would know that confident, because you're like, I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with the people that connect me. And it's like, that person has issues. They just said that. They don't even know me. Where someone that you care about says something, and they're able to make you feel a way, that's Spirit's way of saying they shouldn't be able to make you feel that way. So it's all about, what did this person bring to the table? Because even though it was a shit relationship, because any person that has addictions and they avoid, it's really annoying. It's where they choose to stay detached, where they don't put any effort in. That's a sign of trauma. When we are in survival mode for long periods of time, we get adrenal burnout and people don't see it. So on the outside, this person acts cool. They act like they don't care. They act like, but inside what's going on is like manic, crazy energy. So in order for them to deal with that, again, there's the escapism, but I'm explaining why this person also is lazy. It's like there's a thing called stuck and stupid. And that's when we're in survival mode for long periods of time. It's like, I just can't think. But you'll take it like it's something having to do with you, by the way, when you're dealing with a person like this. That's over time, because they're in balance. There's a need for balance. And that person will always keep you up in your head instead of in your body. So only in the now do you get divine guidance. So part of being in this connection, like, really detached you from you. So any relationship that you're not at ease. When we're at ease, we're able to connect to our higher self, the God part of self. Part of this was that you weren't strong enough within yourself. And that's because this person came on strong. Again, imbalance. And that's a balance, needing balance, but it kept saying like imbalance. So it's almost like sometimes when a person lives in survival mode for long periods of time, they feel more comfortable with the imbalance than they do with the balance. And that's because they've learned to compensate, to navigate their life through addictions, through avoidance, through, they are able to perceive that they are like much more powerful if they come across like they don't care. So they're not going to have problems going really deep within the connection. However, there was a soul connection with you and this person. So the person is mentally getting triggered like all the time, but there's still this soul relationship. So it's like, I want to be in this connection, but I also don't want to be in this connection. And that's what you would see. So every time the relationship would actually get comfortable, then the person would do something. So it was like, after a while, you would be like, I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop. The person actually needs to live in that survival, like almost recreating whatever they grew up in. And it just creates so much stress for you. But that's because this person is always stressed out. Like you said, adrenal fatigue and adrenal burnout is like, you're pretty much in the fight, flight, freeze. You're stressed out all the time. Now, that happens if you grew up in an environment. And I'm going to say this psychically, it's not in the cards for you, smooth flight, self-love. You grew up in that type of environment. So there's a sense of comfortability. This person also grew up in that type of environment. So there's comfortability in that, even though it's not comfortable anymore. It's like, can you deal with it? Yeah, you can deal with it, but you don't want to deal with it anymore. So, right. So that's what it is. It's like that trauma is imprinted onto you. So you want to know, how do you manifest? Within is without. So it's like unconsciously, it's not something that you think about. However, it's something that has affected you to the point that you're like, it's always in the back of your mind. Like, what if I get together with a person that, has that energy? And really, Spirit says, well, you have, and you've gotten through the situation. But the key is that you don't want to be attached to that energy. You don't. That energy is like, it just brings you down. I'm glad that you're here. I'm actually started already. So you might have to rewind this when it's done. Impulsiveness. You'll also notice like a lot of the the chords, are like the same, like what, like not chords, that you'll have a lot of the same blocks. Oh, the chords? No, not, well, kind of. It's like when you, I mean, the best way, because I mean, smooth flight, you want to know this too. It's like at this point, you're like, I'm having trouble moving on. And so a chord is only possible when you are thinking about that person and have emotion towards that person. So you're thinking a lot of that person, just the same as that person is thinking a lot about you. Your mind can't be in two places at one time. It's essentially impossible. So this person represents passion. That's what they represent: passion, fun, love. Even if the love was fucked up, it's they still represented that. That was something that everybody wanted, right? Whether you wanted it, Sheila, or whether you wanted that smooth flight self love, or whether or not you wanted that Dijad, it doesn't matter. It's like that everybody wants that, and that's what they symbolize when they get connect to somebody that feels like home, like a soulmate, right? So it's how much energy you put into something. Energy is also thought. You're only in physical form to learn and to manifest. So holding on to the person energetically means your thought and your emotions. So we know from alchemy, we can't just get rid of negative energy. You just can't do it. You have to integrate the spiritual lesson. That's what has to be done. Otherwise, you don't learn. The universe says, no go. You're still energetically attached. And you're like, I know, but I can't get off. And so spirit says, yeah, while your mind why is your mind over there? And you're like, because I love this person, because I cared about this person, because I know that they could do it. For all those reasons, the universe says, yeah, but don't do my job. You can't do my job. There's a part of you that's attached that wants to do my job. But if you're doing that, what aren't you doing for yourself? Because you only have so much time, energy, focus, and money. So spirit is saying, like, you're giving too much energy, and you're like, well, I'm bored. And then spirit says, aha. It's like, again, you shouldn't be bored. So you have some of the same energy like that this person has, not on the same scale, but it would come out as you would be the caregiver, the lover, the doer, the fixer, the nurturer, and then this person would be the person that does whatever the fuck that they want. And it wouldn't mean that they don't love, but what it means is like you wind up in this codependent relationship where the person is just very impulsive, which comes with that addictive behavior. It's like they're not emotionally intelligent, and they're not channeling their energy towards purpose. Remember, we're in physical form to learn and to manifest. You might say, well, what the fuck am I supposed to be learning down here? And spirit says, you're supposed to be learning you're not separate from me, which is the universe, which is God, which is unconditional love. But the shadows are, parts of you that are unconscious, that you've detached from a long time ago because of experiences that you went through. So those imprints are still on your mind. Part of you needs to integrate whatever is like out of balance. And what we know here is that that person represents passion, love, and to the point that it looks familiar, even though you're both alike. I don't really like the energy. And spirit says, yeah, you don't like the energy, but that's what you're pulling towards you, because you still are holding on to that energy. You can only change that energy by creating new neurological pathways within the mind. Because when you do new things and new people come to you, you change. You change. So your actions are not going to be as impulsive. They're going to be more in alignment with your true self, your higher self. And that's really what it is. It's like, it says honor mother and father in the Bible for a reason. And that's because a lot of times our parents, they did the best that they could do. And we may love them, but their actions have definitely imprinted like on us again, and not just them, but whatever was happening collectively, because we inherit collective karma, we inherit ancestral karma, we inherit family karma, and then we inherit our own karma. And so those experiences play out as karmic themes. So not feeling loved, but really spirit says everything that you need is inside of you. The kingdom of heaven's inside of you. If you can imagine it, you can create it. And then spirit says, but what do you imagine? So the majority is, if you're connected to someone that continually doesn't give you enough, you're going to believe, yeah, that's what it is. So that's what you keep on recreating. So, and the same thing for you, Sheila. Like, you need to go back and say, who was that person? And anybody else that says, this is what my relationships look like. They were abused. Like, I was abused. I was emotionally abused. I was psychologically abused. I was, because broken people hurt people, hurt people, hurt people. It wasn't, it's like not a blame game, but we have to bypass the reptilian mind, which is the survival mind. And you have to say, like, they did the best that they could do with whatever that they have. And so, but now it's to finally integrate the spiritual lesson, because you're like, I'm tired of pulling this shit towards me. The same type of energy, like people that have that narcissistic energy or that one-sided energy. And it first starts with cutting the cord. Right. Forgiveness is part of it. But what I found, Sheila, because I had a mom that tried to kill me several times, and a dad that had cancer 9 times. So, sick goes to sick. What I learned is the more that I created my life and poured into myself, the more I was able to like forgive my parents, because it was like, you didn't know any better. Thank you so much. But that's the truth. It's like, when you put the energy into yourself and then you become yourself, you are attracting people that are going to love you. The key is to realize that those people, the people that love you, are usually not the new people, are going to be people that you don't know. They're going to be people that you meet along on your path. It's a lot of times we want the people that have been in our life to be the ones that give us that love, that give us the nurturing. When you are like become least resistance and saying, they love me the way that they know how to love me, and that's the best that they're going to do. They're not going to do any better than that. It's like we can come to a place of surrender. But how I found forgiveness was to create myself more. Then I saw God made a way where there was no way, that was just for me. It's like the universe conspires to bring you people, situations, experiences that will heal you, that will grow you, that will excite you, that will allow you to see yourself differently. That's how we can forgive. Otherwise, we can forgive in our mind. But until we embody the new consciousness, it's like, I forgive, but, and that but is, I can forgive, but you still fucked up my life. It's like, I still feel like my life is difficult. I still feel like, now some people will say, well, I know that it's also me, but it's still like you're still holding on to the like, you haven't integrated the spiritual lesson. That's their karma. That's their karma, because the universe says they don't get off that easy. It's again about how they treated you. It's like, because no one wants their child to not like them. And nobody wants, anyone to really hate them. If we're coming from a clean, true self, yes, when people are, imbalanced, then then they don't care. They harden up. But when we have an open heart and when we're in our true essence, we don't want to like hate and hold on to anger and to be resentful. That's not our natural state. So I just need to say that, because again, there is a past life connection, and the past life connection is all about healing trauma, and it's about embodying the new consciousness. Otherwise, you still hold on to that energy. There's still habits, there's still behaviorisms. We're in physical form to learn, and that means you got to ground the spiritual lesson. Otherwise, you'll always come from a place of lack, believing that because that's the spiritual wound here. I don't have enough. I'm not good enough. I don't have, even though you might say, I know that I am good enough. I know that I have enough. But we are saying, yeah, but that if that's still manifesting out, that's really what the issue is. Now, let's see, even though, like I said, this was about you and your healing, like we'll also pull from the inner child cards, but then we're going to see what this person's going to do, because there's an ego part of ourselves too that's like, I want to know what this person's going to do. Are they suffering? Like, we always kind of want that, you know and some people say, no, I don't really care whether they're suffering. But if you love someone and you poured yourself into them, there's a part of you that's like, I need to know. I had deja vu once when we were, well, and that's past life. That's the past life. And you will have memories resurface, and so will that person. And sometimes, the trauma pushes you into, like finding gifts. It's not just about your spiritual blocks. I'll read these after to you. Yeah, because it's not all about, we think that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more. And then I'd like to pull from, where are you? It's been new. I've been pulling from this new deck too, the Fearless deck. I really like it for the inner child cards. All right, now we're going to pull 2. Ooh, that's a good one. And those were great cards. So you have to say, why would I pull a person into? No, like Sheila, like this is like it's open forum. It's like, even though my winner is getting a reading. Again, I don't know whether she showed up, though. She might have forgotten. But it was scheduled for 9:45. People are allowed to jump on and ask questions and whatever. Because again, what you'll notice is a lot of the reading resonates with everybody. It's again the way that it works. So you don't need to apologize. So you have to say, why did I attract this person into my life? Especially when you're like, okay, the person was a narcissist. It brought me back to my childhood. Great. It's like, what was I supposed to learn from that? And what really Spirit's saying is, it was all about healing the shame. It's all about healing the shame, because when you're being brought up by a narcissist, they're making you feel bad all the time, making you feel like you're a bad person, because that's how they feel about themselves. They're projecting, they're projecting, they're projecting, they're projecting. What did this person do? They did the same exact thing. It's again, the relationship wasn't smooth. It wasn't a happy relationship. And it created a lot of trauma in your childhood, being brought up by a parent like that, or having someone around you that did that, to the point that it pushed you into your imagination. Remember, the child that survives thrives, because again, child can't run away. Again, when you have a parent that's like in your face, is a narcissist, is shaming you, making you feel bad, you're there, but you're not there over time, because it's like you're going to check out, because a child can't run away. And where do they go? They go inside of themselves. They go into the imagination. Again, and that's why they're able to manifest a lot easier later on in life. Yeah, because being brought up around a parent that makes you feel like bad about yourself, the real spiritual lesson is what? Needing to give yourself self-love. Where Spirit's like, you didn't give yourself that self-love. You are optimistic, but you're optimistic for other people. But what about for yourself? What about finding your voice? God created the world with its voice. You too can create the world with your voice, because God made you in its image, and you are the universe, and the universe is God, and the universe is unconditional love. So it's all about giving and receiving of love through your free will. That's how you have infinite possibilities and boundless opportunities. But you're giving into somebody that wasn't giving you enough, and hoping that they were eventually going to change, because there was a spiritual connection and there was love. But life isn't about that. It's about ascending life. So to let go of who you were, to realize who you are. And that only happens by becoming yourself, to recreate yourself. Because again, the kingdom of heaven's inside of you. If you can imagine it, you can create it. That you are walking that walk and co-creating with the universe, because God says, me first, I'm a jealous God. That's through you first, because I'm inside of you. So you have to love yourself enough. And because of the way that you were brought up, you both were brought up with energies that weren't really nurturing, that really weren't loving, that didn't give you that support. You have to reparent yourself. And the way that that happens is, again, through integrating shame, and that's but through creating a new way. And understand there needs to be hope. I mean, self-love proves that you have hope. So it's the action, because understand it takes a mustard seed. God makes that multiply. You may be like, oh, I don't really think that this is going to work out. But the action shows that you have a little bit of faith. So I feel like it's about you integrating shame into self-love, and that's by becoming what you love, by doing what you love. Your mind can't be in two places at one time, Sheila. There goes that's how you cut that psychic cord, because you're giving and receiving of love through what you love to do, through becoming yourself. Then the universe conspires to make a way where there is no way, just for you. And that's how you live your bliss. You're not living from the reptilian survival mind, which is how, unfortunately, our parents lived. They grew up from the reptilian survival mind because that's all that they knew. It's, again, that the government, society, like the world, how the world is made up of structures and support systems, such as like the post office, school, everything has a system which teaches you how to think and how to do things that we've grown away from ourselves. The perception over time was that you needed to have things and acquire things to be enough. And most of our parents, they didn't have that. So see, your mother was a postal carrier, and I'm sure that she did not like her job. You know what I mean? It was a hard job, she did it. It's not like she didn't do it, but it was like Groundhog's Day every day. You become, where you're not tapping into your intuition. You're not, unless you're utilizing your time where you're like, hey, I get up at 4 a.m. to have a day before my day. Yeah, that's why I said, but it's true. It's that system. It's systematic of how we were taught. It's again, there needs to be systems, because you're dealing with thousands and millions and quadrillions of people that all have different cultures, that think differently, that eat differently. So it's almost like it's just easier to control. But in the controlling factor, we've lost who we are on a spiritual level. And that's why there's a spiritual war happening right now, the war on consciousness, where if you believe you don't have enough, where really Spirit says that's impossible, because you're the universe and the universe is abundant. So the perception is that you're not. So if we go deeper into the more of your healing, again, because what we know is this person is not going to all of a sudden change. It's and if they do change, they're not coming back to you to do that. You know what I mean? I'm actually on the listen and ask questions. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You know what I mean? They're not all of a sudden going to change. What normally happens is that there's an ego death because their life comes to a crashing halt, the way that a person is living it. Um, but you can ask, well, what was the point of this connection? Because it could have been, they could have had an opportunity to evolve. They can still have feelings of passion. They can still have, just because a person has spiritual blocks doesn't mean that they don't have feelings. And it doesn't even mean that they wouldn't even come back. But what it would look like a lot of times is exactly what it did look like. And it's just because the person hasn't healed. He's living and traveling abroad. Hi. So again, there are subconscious fears affecting our ability to attract love and abundance. The universe is helping us make them conscious so we can easily attract what we want. So I'm feeling like that's why the connection, right? It's again that those fears. So the universe doesn't really care whether you're going to be with this person or not. Let's just face it. The universe is just going to give you the best person to help you awaken those shadow aspects of yourself, those spiritual blocks. And that's like, well, are you having trouble attracting love and abundance? This person shows you why. Or again, did show you why. So you might be like, they didn't show me anything. Like they showed me again. Well, yeah, if they're showing you a lot of crazy chaos, understand they're still showing you again. This is not the life that I want. By being with someone that has addiction, that's avoidant, that again is making me feel like I'm hard to love. Really, that's that energy. If we want to get to the basic thing, and that's how the narcissist made you feel growing up too. So you're like, I don't want to feel that. And Spirit says, well, then you got to embody love. You have to embody love. You have to and by being grateful for life's experiences is one of the keys to attaining inner peace. It's all about peace of mind. Again, if you were raised by a narcissist, you don't have peace of mind. It's hard to have peace of mind because your brain was conditioned in an environment not to have it. It was more conditioned to live in a survival mode. So then there's some reconditioning, that would need to be done. You can't just take away trauma. It doesn't work that way. The Spirit says, you have gifts though. It's like, so don't just look at it like, oh, I have all this shit that I gotta do to fix it. Spirit says, no, there are gifts. To everything that you integrate, there are gifts. You would be more sensitive, both of you, Sheila and Smooth Flight. You would be more sensitive, highly sensitive, more intuitive, have healing capabilities. Because again, you know what it feels like to be, around that type of energy. But you have to do something with the energy. You can't just say, well, I know that I have gifts with it, but you have to utilize it. You have to transmute the negative energy. And that's by doing. If someone doesn't respect you, it's okay to walk away. So you did the right thing. It's like the person didn't respect you. And so if you guys have any guilt towards that, because, well, I know that this person's going to ruin their life. Spirit says you got to love yourself more than you love that person. That's always a thing too, what you'll notice, that people that really have codependent issues, they tend to love the person more than they love themselves. They abandon themselves instead of, pouring into themselves. So it's where Spirit's saying, this isn't that. This needs to be, you need to love yourself first and pour into yourself. The love that you're giving this person is actually the love that you wish to receive, but you have to do it for yourself first so that you can get it. Your words have power beyond the infinite understanding of your planetary mind. So I feel like some of you guys could have your own podcast, do your own podcast, or educate. And also to know that whatever you say to people definitely does affect them. So you may think that this person wasn't affected. I think that they were. I don't think that they showed you that they were affected, because again, that would require being vulnerable and showing some sort of emotional intelligence, and that's not what you guys are dealing with. Just because the person feels it, they weren't really acting on it. But then instead of trying to help a person like that, that is so committed to showing both of you, well, I'm not going to give you any credit. What Spirit's saying, it's like you have to go like to a place that's going to appreciate you, that's going so that you can see yourself differently. Remember, when you're in around an environment or like around a person that's dominating your environment and it's making you feel bad about yourself, even subconsciously, you don't realize you're forming habits and behaviorism. So we all know that you can't get better in the same environment that you got sick in. And a lot of times when you get out of that one relationship, you're still holding on to the energy from all that trauma, and you attract people that have similar energy, where Spirit's saying, well, now I want you to put the energy into yourself, doing something that you love, because the universe conspires then to bring you the right people, your tribe, into your life instead of you picking people, because there's already a part of you that's like, well, I don't trust myself because look who I choose. And that's why. But that's it. Like, yeah, you decided to be single and it's not one or the other. Because then one day, Sheila, some person's going to walk on by and you're going to be attracted to that person and you're not going to be able to like hold back. And you're going to, because you've been in a desert for a long time. So the person's like a mirage. That's what it is. They're not really like as good as they see, and you're not going to see because you can't control love. Yeah, they're going to show up at your front door. Listen, it went, believe me, it happens. It happens. Remaining lighthearted during stressful times will help you keep you in your flow. So I feel like it's mainly about right now, yes, living your own life and getting comfortable with yourself, learning what that feels like for a certain amount of time. But then you have to integrate, hobbies and interests and finding yourself, because if you're attracting a person that's so broken, that doesn't have an identity, and that's the thing. See, people that get so caught up in their trauma and what happened, and they're afraid to be in relationships. They're afraid. They're all up in their mind. They're not in their body. They're not creating new experiences. They're not doing any of that. It's more or less like, and you can be alone, and that's fine. But when we're down here to learn the lessons of love, and love comes in many different forms. So the thing is, we all need emotional fulfillment. You may say that you don't, but you do, in order to be balanced. So you would still need to do this. And the thing is, but what you would find is if you were feeding yourself, then what would happen, and when I say feed yourself, pouring into yourself, you would attract people that were more in alignment with where you want to be and what you want to present yourself with today, not things of the past. And you would have boundaries. You didn't have boundaries with this person. Again, you both abandoned yourself to give to this person. Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like that didn't give yourself love. And that's what Spirit said before. It's like, that's why that happened. You wouldn't recreate the same experience, Sheila. But you're saying, oh no, I'm going to stay alone forever because that happened and that happened before. But Spirit said, you always do the same thing. You have to do something different in order to get a different experience. And I think that it's about, yeah, and all those things are good, meditating and reading books and start your YouTube channel and just have a love affair with yourself. Because, hey, smooth flight, you might be like, and you know what? Last week I went skydiving. Can you get over it? Yeah, I never thought that I would like to go skydiving. And next week I'm going to stomp on some grapes. And the week after I'm going to do, it's like, I don't know where life is going to take me. But if you were brought up by a narcissist, it means that there's a whole childhood that was never created. So Spirit's saying, where's the fun? Well, who are you? It's like the part of you would jump around a lot saying, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because you, and not really find anything until now because you weren't allowed to have anything. So it's like, again, finding who you are now, making sure that you're pouring into yourself. Well, I feel like it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the time that you are brought up by a narcissist. Sometimes it's just you were brought up by parents that emotionally weren't, there enough for you. Or sometimes you're just highly sensitive and you just feel like you're a little different. It doesn't really matter what the wound was. However, I find if you know what caused the wound, not that it's a blame game, but it's more like you're able to bypass the reptilian mind, because the reptilian mind is already made up habits and behaviorisms that are for your survival. So when you know, like, well, this was just because, like, my dad was a narcissist, like, again, smooth flights, that, like, doesn't mean that they, first of all, it doesn't mean that they didn't love me. They loved me the best way that they knew how. It was the way that I preferred, no, but it's a way that I kind of still identify with love a little bit, which isn't healthy. And I really don't know what my worth is because it wasn't taught. I don't know what that looks like, and I have to do that myself. I have to figure that out myself. And so it's, again, it's not because that there's a problem. I just haven't, you have to embody it. What do you know unless you've actually tried it? And that's what Spirit's saying. It's like, yeah, because you would also both be clairsentient. I mean, just the trauma alone would create like that clairsentient. So it's right. It's all about loving yourself. Now, sometimes, Sheila, it could be just dating a person that traumatized you, and that's because you wanted that love and you weren't really encouraged to go out and find yourself. You were more encouraged to, hey, don't worry, you'll get married one day, and by an old-fashioned parent or grandma that was coming from their day, their age. Again, it was just more or less that you gave more to somebody else than yourself, is all that means. And that unconsciously, that's what you did. Hey, Priram, you understand. So we like to know what the reasoning is so that you don't repeat the reason, that so that you can integrate the reason. But because there's only two energies, love and fear, you'd fall, unfortunately, into the fear category because, again, you didn't get what you needed. It's like whether that was from yourself or somebody else. And like I said, our it's not like our society taught spiritual health in school. It didn't do any of that. It's like the most that we got was a pledge allegiance, and that, like, you know what I mean? It was like there was no meditation. It was a one size fits all, and if you didn't fit into that criteria, well, then it's easy how you would feel like this feels like it I don't feel like I fit in, where, everyone has felt that too, because there's been no help on it. And that now we're moving into times, thank God, that we're becoming more aware that, hey, there's spiritual health and we need to understand how we're creating our own reality, and how collectively we all are doing it, because we're all thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? And we're all thinking that there's not enough. Well, guess what? That's all we're going to see. So again, only two energies, love and fear. So anything that's of lack will manifest as that. So if we don't feel good enough about ourselves, no one's walking around saying, I don't feel good about myself. What just actually manifests is not enough, like a lacking. And that's what these people brought to the table. Like, hey, it wasn't really enough. It was a lot of me giving my energy, and it was a lot of chaos. And so then it's about diving deep into yourself and saying, why did I do that? And what can I do to fill the time with by, growing myself? And like I said, that's what Smooth Flight's doing right now. She's having a love affair with herself. And I can guarantee eventually she will meet somebody that's more in alignment with who she is. And guess what? She's not going to put up with uh, somebody that comes into her life that gives her less than, because she knows what it looks like now. Like, what, are you kidding me? It's like I have more time, like traveling the world and bungee jumping out of airplanes and painting and going to tango and living my life. Then why would I be with somebody that's going to bring my energy down? I don't want that. It's like I have too much fun on Tuesday nights with Carlos dancing on the dance floor. It's like I there's no comparison. It's like I'm not going to do it. And that would be you too, Sheila. It's like you'd be like, I don't like it's there's no comparison, but you're in a desert right now. So someone comes along, they tell you a few lines about how much they care about you, love you, and they make you feel good. You might sell the farm without noticing it because you were in the desert. See, though, there you go. Like it's all about understanding, like I said, how you created it, and what you need to do to integrate it, and what you need to do to cut a psychic cord if the person is like they're not giving you anything. And let me tell you something, if they really do have a cord towards you, they can feel when you've cut that, and that scares the shit out of them, especially something that they've gotten comfortable being a little parasite, just sitting there not doing anything and just sucking your energy, kind of like putting a little pinhole in your tire. And every morning you go out to look at your bicycle and the tire is flat, and you're like, well, the tire was fine yesterday. That's what a parasite feels like. It's like there's someone just draining your energy. It's like they can't do it if you're having like a good time with yourself, and it also pisses them off. It's like, especially if a person didn't treat you well, you don't want to be sitting there looking very sad either. A lot of times people say they never get the karma. They'll get the karma if you're having a good time, because trust me, the universe will conspire to bring other things into your life that put you in a better light, that make sure that you have a good time, because the universe wants to make sure that everybody gets their karma. And even if you don't get it, your karma, the universe will eventually come in and collect its karma. It doesn't matter. Might be like, well, you were stupid, you didn't get your karma, but I'm still getting mine because I'm the universe and I always collect my due. So it doesn't matter. It's just you need to, again, like do your part. And the way that you do your part is you go on and you have a good life, and you eventually meet somebody else, and you give all that love, all that attention back to someone that gives to you, and that person will know, well, I could have had that, but it's like, but I wasn't willing to give anything. And that's the way, and you might be like, well, they're not going to care. They'll care. It's understand there's only one you. It's like, and not everyone's going to do all that for them. Trust me. That's the illusion. People think they get a big head and they're like, oh, I just meet somebody else. They'll do all that for me. No, they won't. No, they're not. It's like no one wants to clean up your mess. No one wants to be your parent. No one wants to do that. No one wants to be in a one-sided relationship. It's like but they'll have to go for lower hanging fruit. We all know that a lower hanging fruit doesn't give anything. So they don't really want to go to that. They'd rather go to like Top Shelf with a fucking coupon. You know what I'm saying? And you don't get Top Shelf with a coupon. It's like you have to actually come in correct. And that's the thing. It's like, and that only works when we don't know our value. And that's why I'm saying it's like this person, trust me, if they treated you like shit, they get to see that somebody else is giving you value. And that's really what it is. It's like it's not really about the revenge. That person, spirit says, I'm like, yes, it is, but the spirit says, no, it's not. It's because understand they're living a life of shit. So, they never, they don't really believe that they can be in a successful relationship. That's why all of that. Are they conscious to it? No. Their ego is saying, I could be with anybody. The ego is saying something completely different. But if we would strip away that ego, what's underneath there? Like if we took off the plastic bag off Scooby's head, who did it? Oh, look, it's Scooby. You know what I mean? It's like it's this person, that they keep sabotaging themselves. It's like, and they know that. They know that on it, but over time it doesn't feel good. They create masks, they create illusions, and then they believe those delusions. So you can't, it's not like spirit saying this person lives a life of hell already. Like, trust me, it's like, because nothing good ever comes about it. I mean, not for a little while. It could be like, oh, look, life is actually where, oh, no, it's not. It's like their life looks like a roller coaster because they can only ride the wave off somebody else for so long. And unfortunately, then whoever did all that, they get to eat a lot of the karma too, because, well, where was your life? Oh, your life was to fix this person, control this person. No, it's not. Now you have to pay for the karmic consequences, and there are, for not loving yourself, for not doing of yourself. We all are responsible for that. And that's why I'm saying it's like no one's free. Yeah, top shelf with a coupon, and that's exactly what it is. It's like literally with another woman for 2 weeks. Well, that and like goes to like, so that if the person was really imbalanced, the sex was probably really hot, right? It was really hot. It was based on all lust, and then look what happens. It's like that's like a Jerry Springer. It's like it's again the person's like crazy and not so. Yeah, you thought that the grass was greener on the other side. Well, guess what? It's like you can check yourself into one flew over the cuckoo's nest because you're with cuckoo over there. It's like, and that's the thing. The person winds up continually taking chances. It's again, they're impulsive. It came out. Impulsive means that I'm just gonna react because it's what I feel. It's not. It's not based on truth, on unconditional love. It's based on lust. It's based on the person's like addictive behavior, and that's why I'm saying over time the person just ruins their life because they're not valuing real connection. There's no loyalty. There's no, I mean, the higher states of consciousness is that it's unconditional love, it's loyalty, it's forgiveness, it's vulnerability, it's compassion, and this person doesn't want to do any of that. And so a person that's out of alignment with these higher levels of consciousness, that's how you know you don't need to be in my life. You're not going to give me respect. That's how you get them out of your life. It's like right in the very beginning, you can tell. And it's like they don't want to do it, then put more energy into yourself. The illusion is, oh, I'm not going to be able to find anybody. Well, if you talk to a lot of people on chat lines and you talk to, then chances are you won't. But understand the universe knows what you want more than you know what you want. If you have a love affair with yourself and you're really pouring into yourself, the universe will always conspire to bring you your tribe. Bring you your tribe, bring you the perfect person. It's not an illusion. You have to really want it, but you have to really become that energy yourself. Otherwise, you're going to attract people that are more in alignment with your traumas. And that's really what it is, being that both of you have already dated people like that. It's like until you integrate the spiritual lesson, which here it was more about giving yourself the love. And a lot of times, mainly that's what it is. It's that I gave too much to somebody that didn't deserve it. And Spirit says, yes, and where should the energy have gone? and really onto yourself, giving yourself that because you never got that. So in doing it for that person, you are hoping to get it back. And that's really what it is. Right, Jerry Springer. That's what it's like. It's a Jerry Springer, like these relationships. It's like, who's the daddy? Like, oh, there's Maury Kovich or whatever. It's like it's because it's the drama. It's because that feeds their ego. Oh, look, like I'm creating, making you crazy. So it's like it's false passion, it's craziness, it's like it's all ego ridden, and that's why you have to be like, no, because it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. And then you could be like, well, I feel like I need to be that way because this person never shows up. And that's why it's like, no, right, no loyalty at all. So again, out. It's like, because then you're waiting for the shoe to drop. God forbid, like you need this person, they're not going to be there. Well, right, he couldn't prove that you were crazy. No, but the problem is that he's addicted to that crazy energy. And that's the problem. When a person lives in fight, flight, or freeze for so long, they become addicted to it. Right. It's like you don't want low vibing people sucking your energy. It's like it's too much. It's like we have life to live. And when you really understand like how you can create the life that you want by creating like the environment that's best to thrive in, like you don't have people like that into your life. Life is too short. And you realize that being around that makes you sick because it's continuously conditioning your nervous system. And it's really, like I said, it's when meanwhile the person really doesn't, they're not bringing any value into your life because they don't have any value to bring into their own, especially someone that's an alcoholic. It's like it means that they can't handle life. They feel so bad about themselves that how could they possibly be happy for anything for you if they're not happy with themselves? It's like they're negative. The alcoholism means, and I know because my dad was an alcoholic too, but he wasn't a narcissist. He was super sweet. He was nice, but he just didn't show up. It was like, just didn't show up, just couldn't. And so, but I know that alcohol makes a person feel like they just don't give a shit. When you drink, you just don't give a shit. And that's when a person like just is so overwhelmed with their emotions. They don't know how to do any healing. They hate their life. They don't know how to fix their life. And they picked you because, hey, you have all the ingredients. You're nice. You're going to fix my life. And then you actually came in to help try to fix their life. But the more that you tried to do for them, the more that they would take. And that's because they haven't established any sense of self, and that's really what the issue is. And that's what you have to do. You have to release it and recreate yourself. It's like, because that's what life is about. And it's all about a lot of times that we go through Phoenix moments where we have to set ourselves on fire and start all over and we rise from the ashes. I mean, and that's okay as long as we come back better and we learned from the spiritual lesson. And here it was clear. It was just even recognizing if a person doesn't have good character, they're not going to be nice to me. They might show me that they're nice, but they can show me that they're nice to try to get what they want. They can't do it consistently. That's one way we can notice the red flags. Another way is, again, what they're doing. And then also know, why did that happen? Well, emotionally, like I wanted to be with them. And Spirit says, well, what would be just as emotionally satisfying to you? It's like, but it can't be a person. It has to be something. I want you to put your energy there. It's again, that's where you'll start. understand that might not be where you wind up, but it won't matter, because if you're feeding whatever you're doing, the universe conspires to bring you signs and symbols that will lead you into new opportunities, new adventures, new things that stir up your soul and bring you passion, because that's essentially what this person represents, is passion. But it's not a healthy passion. It's a very imbalanced passion. So again, if we don't have the right passion, we're like, we can't tell that it's counterfeit. Now you can. You're like, oh, this is counterfeit. This isn't real. That's monopoly money. That's not real money. It's like, I can't do anything with this. It's like, and that's really what it is, but you can't tell because you're in a desert, not emotionally giving yourself anything. And, you know, that's what happens. Yeah, of course your hair would fall out in patches because your hair is an extension of your nervous system. So living in survival mode cuts that. So of course, I mean, it's like living in survival mode, and where it's like you want to, like, again, drinking, okay, back in major drinking and overeating issues too. So like that might trigger you also. So that's why I'm saying it's like it's not uncommon. But the antidote is to do that. There's many person that's been an alcoholic that has went into remission, and they get up on stage and they teach thousands of people all over the world. It's, again, that's the art of transmutation, taking that emotional energy that's been built up over time due to the trauma, again, and not doing anything with that energy. It's important. Your body is an energy being. The prana is a chi, is the same thing as spirit, is the same thing as God. It's ubiquitous, it's a universe. So when we breathe in that chi, we're breathing in spirit, and it needs to be able to work through us. So that, again, that our supernatural spiritual sovereignty works for us. That, again, we can do supernatural things. Like, we can't do that if we're all blocked up because we have somebody around us that's making us feel as if we're not worthy. It's like you're going to see eventually physical imbalances. My father had cancer, I told you, 9 times because he was married to a narcissist. And he tried to drink to like not deal with it. It's like, but he was a highly sensitive person that couldn't help but to feel with it. So he was like just avoidant. So, understand it makes you sick. It makes you real sick. I saw that, like, my dad was 42 the first time he got cancer, and they gave him a year to live. He lived till he was 85, and he actually outlived the narcissist by 1 year and 2 days. It was like God saying, "You're not coming home until after she dies." And it's, again, but you won't be able to live on your own in peace. You'll be sick for that full year, and then I'll just take you out. And it's because he went along with it, because it's like I forfeit my life, and that's spiritual disease. It's I don't love myself enough. I don't find enough value in myself. And then and the narcissist is just like, you don't, like, you were supposed to be that person because he was smart, but the narcissist couldn't do it for herself. She was like, no, you're going to be the answer, you're going to be the answer. So it created a whole dynamic of a, trauma bond connection, and it makes you sick. It makes everybody in the family sick, because, and when I say sick, it's spiritually sick, that eventually turns physically sick, because the energy is so off. Yeah, well, over him, yeah, because he was stuffing it down. You're going to see a lot of excess energy. You're going to see a lot of excess energy because it's like they don't know how to deal with the emotions. It's like, so it's a way of avoiding. It's a way of avoiding because there's been no education of spiritual health. Well, I feel like his solution was like, was to avoid it, because it's like it would have uncovered too much, and that would really allow you to like have to come into his life. He would have to show vulnerability, and what this person kept experiencing was abandonment. So it's like, I don't really like myself. So if I show you this, you're not going to like it. You're not going to stay, because nobody stays. So I'm going to do what's safe instead of like what can possibly make me feel better. But that's again, the person stuck in the karmic loop of their behaviorisms, of how they learned to navigate that trauma their whole life. So just because you came in and said, hey, let's try and talk about it because I love you, the person's like, nope. Especially if I have feelings, the answer is no. Because it's, again, I don't like that part of me. I don't know how to deal with it. That's too scary for me. I don't, it's, again, it becomes all like that. And you can't make a person want to do it. What normally happens, smooth flight, is, again, person enters into a dark night of the soul. And that's because the universe says, fuck you. I'm collecting my due. It's like, yeah, like, let's take out the roster. Okay, you screwed over this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, oh, this person. Like, and then you did this, you did this, you did this. And this was built from this level of consciousness. And this was built from this level of consciousness, which was greed, selfishness, pride. So it's like, so everything gets demolished. It's like anything that wasn't built on God's laws, which is unconditional love, which is usually everything, by the way. And then the person's like, it's, again, this is what it means: rise from the ashes, that the person set themselves on fire. There's nothing left except for ashes. And it's because they're the ones that did it. It's like, that's the only way that the person really has the I'm coming to Jesus moment, because it's like, I have nowhere else to turn. There's no one here to fix it. There's no one here to do it for me. And so that's the only way. And they don't volunteer to do that. That's the last thing that they'll do. Again, remember, you're not dealing with someone that's 10. You're dealing with somebody that's a grown ass adult that hasn't looked at any of their shit. And so it's not going to get better. I got to run. I got to actually do a reading in 2 minutes. I want to thank you guys. I'll be on again later. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.